Week 1 of the NFL is officially here, guys, and we're going to be previewing all the action on Thursday, Friday, and even Sunday. All the games. This is your home, guys. Let's talk sports. I mean, this is just the time to be goddamn alive, guys. The NFL is officially kicking off in about a day. I mean, by the time you're listening to this episode, it might already be Thursday, guys, and I'm very excited. I can't even lie to y'all. And I couldn't be more excited, guys, for week 1 of the NFL, guys. I mean, it's finally here. Look, I talked about preseason. Preseason was a time... But this is the real deal. This is where real shit happens. This is where anything can happen in the NFL. And I'm going to be predicting what is going to be happening in week 1 because I'm very interested to see all of these teams. There's some teams that, a lot of the players have been IR. They've been injured. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to play. There's a lot of players that honestly came from the trade. The NFL trade this year has just been, fucking crazy. So there's a lot of players that we're about to see in the NFL today that are going to definitely have to prove themselves for week 1, etc. Guys, I'm so excited. I mean, it is just a great time to be alive. Great time finally. And, the summer's ending. And, when the summer is coming to a close, that means the NFL is around the corner. And I really love that, guys. So let's get into all of these games that are happening. I'm going to be covering everything. And we're going to start off with Thursday Night Football because there's a pretty big Thursday night game and a pretty big talk about this game. There's been some, off the field stuff that's happened that I'm going to talk about. There's been some stuff, about the Eagles that's been improved, etc. We got a lot to talk about, guys. Let's get into recapping the whole entire week 1 schedule for y'all today. So let's get into it. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be facing off the Super Bowl champions, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, guys. This is going to be a very good matchup. I mean, we want to see Jalen Hurts. We want to see Saquon Barkley. We want to see, how these players continue their success. And, is the success going to continue? Can Dallas Cowboys pull off the upset? Now, there has been some things about the Dallas Cowboys that I'm not really entirely agreeing, upon. For instance, the Micah Parsons trade has officially happened. He went to the Packers, and, hey, the Packers are going to be fucking fantastic this year. I mean, if you're an NFC fan, if you're an NFC fan, guys, you should be worried about the Packers. If you got to go up against the Packers, having somebody like, Micah Parsons, etc., in the game, it's just going to, it's just going to flip the whole magnitude. I mean, the Packers have literally been looking for a defensive star. I mean, they literally been looking for that, and somehow the Dallas Cowboys let go one of their most prestigious defensive stars. I mean, holy shit. Apparently Dallas doesn't want to be, restrained on the cap. They don't want to be like the Bengals. They don't want to be, like some of these other NFL teams that are constantly, putting all their money into these players to keep the good players around. They want to try the draft process. They want to try, rebuilding their team up. And I could understand that. And, Kenny Clark's not that bad. Pretty good defensive player on the Packers. I mean, so you're getting that player too that can stop the run. I mean that's a good thing to have. But I'll just be real. I just don't think the Dallas Cowboys are really going to be, shaking it up this year. I'll just be real. Look, the Eagles, guys. The Cowboys squad, they got their first-year head coach, Brian Schwartzman, and I'll just be real. Philadelphia's offense led by Jalen Hurts and the dominant run game, with Saquon Barkley. I mean, it is just going to get crazy. Key matchups for this matchup, guys. Some key matchups here. Saquon Barkley versus the Cowboys, revamped front seven. And this is a revamped front seven because you're not going to have Parsons and Dallas' scheme kind of loses its blitz-heavy identity, potentially allowing, Philly's run game to actually dominate, to actually, put forth some actual effort. But Dak Prescott is returning from a hamstring injury versus the Eagles. Hurts' mobility could exploit Dallas's weakened pass defense, if Prescott holds the ball too long. And that's another thing, too. The pass defense from the Eagles might be really good this year. So, if Dak Prescott is holding on the ball way too long, you might run into some issues where you're probably going to see some sacks. Because the Eagles' defense is that goddamn good. You might see some sacks. I can't even lie to y'all. So, yeah, who do I think is going to win this matchup for, the first game on Thursday Night Football? I'm going to have to give it to the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to win, but I really do not think the Eagles are going to blow out the Cowboys. I really do think the Cowboys this year, they are tired of sucking. And when you have players like Dak Prescott, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have now the new wide receivers that come in, George Pickens, etc. When you have all these different elements, I just really hope that Dallas Cowboys defense is still there. I hope they're still playing hard. I hope the blitz defense is still there. I hope just because Micah Parsons left that they're not going to, be there. I hope the pass defense is really good, and I hope the run defense is good, and I really hope this could be a good football game. This is a classic rivalry. This definitely is. This is a classic rival matchup back in the day. So I hope this game's good. I hope the Dallas Cowboys are really tired of losing. So hopefully they can put up a good fight. But I really think even if they put up a good fight, you just got Saquon Barkley. You got Jalen Hurts that can just fucking, do some little short passes and get a touchdown. You just got all these different elements about the Eagles that, man, I really don't know what the Dallas Cowboys can do. So I'm going to say the Eagles are going to win this game. Also, I'm going to say the Eagles are probably going to win by 21 and above. I'm not going to give too much of a blowout, score today. I don't think this is going to be a blowout game, but this could be a blowout game. Very possible. Let's move on now to the Friday game, which is going to be one of the first international games. This is a blockbuster international game. Guys, we got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. We got, Andy Reid, we got Harbaugh as the coach. We got the two coaches facing off each other. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. This game right here could be absolutely fantastic. This is some of the best AFC teams out there, in my opinion. I'm really interested to see this game. Some key matchups for this game, Patrick Mahomes versus the Chargers pass rush. Harbaugh's scheme, pressures QBs, without Rice. So, this could be definitely a big test. I like how Harbaugh's schemes are always trying to pressure quarterbacks, trying to stop the quarterback from able to get that pass off. Because when you got a player like Patrick Mahomes that can, just put fear into God of every NFL player, because, 1 second, this man can flip the entire field. This man can launch a fucking 60-yard pass at the brink of the goddamn eye. Now, another key matchup, too, is going to be Justin Herbert versus the Chiefs secondary. The Chiefs defense is really good, and I think they're going to still be really good. I think the defense is going to still keep winning a lot of the games for the Chiefs. Herbert's accuracy exploits man coverage. Chargers' run focus might control the clock in human conditions, which is really nice in my opinion. So that's great. I'm really glad we got that, guys. I really hope Justin Herbert can beat the Chiefs. I really hope so, guys. I look, you know, I will never sit up here on this show and diss the Chiefs, or I'm not going to make up some lies saying the Chiefs are not good. Anybody saying the Chiefs are not good, Patrick Mahomes is not a good quarterback. Well, this man got to the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, and is now in some of the best shape of his life because he lost that Super Bowl, and now he's more pissed off. So, I'm going to be real, guys. Patrick Mahomes is very goddamn scary. Very scary. That's the reason why I call them the Devils. I call that whole team, the Devil football team. Because any second, any play, it always feels like, penalties might be on their side. It might feel like the defense is so bone-crushing good that they just knock the breath out of any team. And, it really kills a defense. It really makes a defense go ghost when Patrick Mahomes, can be on a third down play and get a 60-yard goddamn pass right off the bat. That can be that could kill a defense's mood for the whole entire goddamn game. So make no mistake, guys. But I will be real. I hope the Chargers win. And my prediction for this game, I'm going to say the Chargers are going to win. And they're going to win by a close game. I'm going to say this game is going to be in the 25 to 30 point range. And I think it's going to be a close game throughout the whole entire game. We're playing in Brazil. Patrick Mahomes is a guy who played in Brazil. I don't know, maybe Justin Herbert can play better in Brazil. We're going to goddamn see. But I'm going to give it to the Chargers to beat the Chiefs. I want it to happen. But as y'all know, the Chiefs probably will win. Let's just be real. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons, guys. This is the next game. We're heading to the Sunday, slot of games now. Key matchups for this game, guys. Baker Mayfield versus the Falcons secondary. Michael Penix is very inexperienced. It could lead to turnovers if Tampa definitely gets that pressure in. I'm going to love to see it, guys. As y'all know, I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. Now, if the Tampa Buccaneers go up against the Lions, that's when I got to turn my fan, mode off for the Tampa Buccaneers. But usually I love Baker Mayfield. I love what this team's doing. I like how this team is going. We want to get a Super Bowl. We want to get a really good, win in the playoffs. They just got to beat the Falcons. And I do think, the Falcons are going to take some time under Michael Penix Jr. to really get going. But another key matchup is Bijan Robinson versus the Bucs. Guys, Bijan Robinson is fucking insane. If you watch preseason of that Bijan Robinson, if you've watched, last year, Falcons running game is really good. And we're going to see if Atlanta's run scheme tests the Tampa Bay's run defense. So we'll see. Hopefully, the Buccaneers can beat the Atlanta Falcons, but I'll be real, guys, I'm really high on the Atlanta Falcons. I really am. I love the Buccaneers, but, when you got Bijan Robinson with the Atlanta Falcons, anything is possible, and we'll see it today. We'll definitely see it. I'm going to give this game, I'm going to give it to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're going to win, and I also think they're going to win by a lot. I think this is going to be a close game by both teams, but I think they can win by that 30 mark. I think they can break, with Baker Mayfield, they can break past that 30-point mark and go fucking insane. Now, the next game, guys, is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. This game right here, Joe Burrow versus Joe Flacco. And also, Joe Burrow's got to go up against the Browns secondary, which, I'll be real. The Cleveland Browns defense is not going to be that good. I really hope Cleveland's scheme vulnerabilities could lead to, a Bengals explosion. I want to see that, but I think the Bengals are just going to go crazy on the secondary. Now, Myles Garrett versus the Bengals. O-line. I think, Myles Garrett versus the Bengals O-line, I will be real. One of the things I am worried about this season about the Bengals is their O-line does not look very much improved. It still looks like their O-line, is still, letting so many defenders through. And I'll just be real. I'm not very high on Joe Burrow right now. I'm not very high on these Bengals right now. I have to see it. I really have to see it. I saw a little bit on the preseason, but I saw some mistakes on the preseason that I went, already having a lot of mistakes. But hopefully a lot of those mistakes were made in the preseason, and we don't see them in the regular season. But I am gonna pray and hope that, Joe Flacco from the Browns can take down Joe Burrow. Old against the new. I hope the OGs can win. I'm going to say the Browns are going to win by 20. Now, next game, guys. Next game. Miami Dolphins at the Indianapolis Colts. Miami. Oh, man. We got Tua Tagovailoa, versus the Colts secondary. And, Tua's a really good quarterback. It's just, those injuries have definitely, brought his value down, but you never know. Richardson, slash Jones versus the Dolphins, pass rush, you could see maybe Richardson or, they want to, put fucking Daniel Jones. They're probably going to be starting Daniel Jones. I don't think they're going to be starting Anthony Richardson. And I really wish they would not start Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks that I've ever watched last year. I remember watching the Giants last year. Man. Now, I really hope the Dolphins can beat the Colts, but I have no faith in the Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins, their O-line, I think their quarterback, I just think even their coach. I think that whole ass team has just lost so much goddamn light, has lost so much goddamn energy. I mean, I feel like the Colts are going to fuck them up. I'll just be real. Hey, look, Colts, you better win this game. If you can't beat the Dolphins, then what everybody's been saying about the Colts this year is true. Carolina Panthers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a fun game right here. Key matchups, Bryce Young versus the Jags secondary. Cohen's scheme could unlock, Trevor Lawrence too, which is really cool. Travis Hunter, as a receiver and as a CB, which is really cool versus the Panthers. That offense and defense, that Iron Man like, key role that you can do. You can play both sides of the ball. That's really cool. My only thing is that I don't think Travis Hunter is going to make much of an impact on the Jaguars. But I think the Jaguars can beat the Panthers. But I love the Panthers. I love the Panthers. I love when the Panthers, score a couple of touchdowns and you go, hey, good job, Panthers. But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars can beat them. Hopefully they beat them. I always loved the Jaguars, but the Jaguars, they can never win games. So I'm going to say the Jaguars are going to win by 20. Now, the next game, guys. We've been doing this for a little bit. We're going to keep going. Las Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots. Oh, man. Geno Smith against the Pats secondary. Whew. I love this. I love how the Patriots, they're getting so much more newer talent, but that newer talent is probably going to take a few years to develop. Ramondre Stevenson versus the Raiders front could be really nice, and could be really nice too for the run game. I just really hope the Raiders can pull off this victory. But I think, with the Patriots and, having their quarterback, etc., I'll be real. I want the Raiders to win. I want to see Geno Smith win, and you definitely see Geno Smith who can really go in there and really win, but I don't know. I think the Patriots might just squeak this one out. So this might be a close game. And I think the Patriots are just going to win by 20. Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. Guys, key matchups for this one right here is going to be Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is going to be here. And then we're going to see Spencer Rattler go up against the Cards pass rush, which I hope the Cards pass rush fuck up these Saints. I really hope. I hate the Saints. I hate their quarterback. I hate their coach. I hate how the Saints run their whole ass organization. It's disappointing, No. I hope the Cardinals can beat the Saints. I'm going to give the Cardinals like 20. I'm going to give Kyler Murray. I'm going to give him some faith. I'm going to say, hey, you can win. You can win. Pittsburgh Steelers at the New York Jets. Come on, Steelers. I want to see Aaron Rodgers. I want to see DK Metcalf. I want to see these people kill it. I really want to see it. If y'all can't beat the Jets, we're going to have a problem. Key matchups here, Rodgers' field revenge. These are old teams clashing. This is Rodgers getting his revenge on the Jets. And then we got TJ Watt versus the Jets O-line. TJ Watt should dominate this O-line. They fucking better. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win by 30. And I hope they can beat the Jets, because the Jets are not good this year. Now, another good New York team, a really good New York team, not the New York Jets, is the New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. We're going to see Russell Wilson and Jaden Daniels go fucking crazy. All right? Key matchups here, Jackson Dart debut versus the Commanders secondary. And then, we're going to see the Giants pass rush versus the Commanders O-line. They're saying it's the oldest in the league, but look, experience matters. I want to see it. I want to see Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart. I don't care which either one of you guys start. I think Russell Wilson is going to start for most of the games in the beginning. But yeah, they got to go up against the Commanders. Commanders is going to be a tough team to go up against. I'm going to say this. I think the Commanders are going to win. I'm a lot higher on the Giants for some reason. I just think the way the Giants are putting together their team is just really great. But I think Jaden Daniels can squeak out a win. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think this is going to be a close one, too. But I think the Commanders are going to win by 30. Now, the next game, guys, is going to be the Tennessee Titans at the Denver Broncos. We got Cam Ward. Cam Ward has looked terrible in the preseason. I don't know if Cam Ward's even going to look good on this Titans team. The Titans' O-line's not good. It's just like, damn. I hope Cam Ward can succeed. But I think this Denver Broncos defense is going to really shake shit up. And that's kind of the main thing here. Bo Nix and that defense. Guys, Bo Nix is fucking insane. And then he got an insane Denver Broncos defense. I love the Broncos. I hope the Broncos can win. It was one of my favorite teams when I was a kid, cheering on the Broncos when I was a kid. So I'm always going to have respect for the Broncos. I'm going to give the Broncos, I think they're going to win by 20. I think they could beat the Titans. If you can't beat the Titans, then damn. Some key matchups, Cam Ward versus the Broncos secondary. I'm going to be real. Cam Ward's going to have a really hard time against this secondary. And then Titans run game versus the Denver's front. We'll see if the run game, can actually get going for Tennessee, but probably not. And now we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. Key matchups here, Brock Purdy versus the Seahawks secondary. Seahawks' run game versus the 49ers front. I'll be real. I think the 49ers can win this game. I think they definitely can. 100%. I think Brock Purdy can carry this team and win by at least 30. Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. This is my team right here. This is the Lions. And I'm a little worried about the Green Bay Packers because they got that, they got that defensive, they got that new defensive addition. They got that defensive star. But don't be mistaken, because we got a defensive star of our own. We got Aiden Hutchinson. All right, I got Jared Goff. I got all these fucking weapons on my goddamn team. And I look at the Packers and I go, you're a good football team, but you're not a great football team. And maybe this Micah Parsons trade, makes them a great football team. But I think that's going to take some time. Guys, key matchups here. Jordan Love versus the Lions secondary. Packers additions with, Parsons. We're going to see how the Packers secondary plays against the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs versus the Packers front. We'll see. We'll see if, maybe, Micah Parsons can, stop Jahmyr Gibbs. But for some reason, the media is so low on the Lions, and I love that. I love it when the media is like, we don't believe in the Lions anymore. That means the Lions are going to win this fucking football game. And I think the Lions are going to win by at least 30. It's going to be a good game. I'm going to love to see it. Guys, it is just like, man. I think the Lions are going to win by 30. Fuck the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love can, I hate Jordan Love. And now, Micah Parsons was a part of the Dallas Cowboys. Now you move to the Packers, which, it's not any better. So, I hate you even more. So, I'm going to say that. Now, this game right here, guys, is going to be the Houston Texans at the Los Angeles Rams. C.J. Stroud against, Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is just such a good quarterback. I think, I think C.J. Stroud, he's a good quarterback, but he's not great. And we'll see. I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to have a good game in this one. I think the Rams are going to win by at least 20. Now, a Sunday night game, too, which is, Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. This is a really good game, too. I mean, holy shit. You got Josh Allen versus the Ravens secondary, which, the Ravens secondary is really goddamn good. And then Lamar Jackson versus the Bills front, which he might be cutting through that, Bills secondary. Let's just be real. And then the Monday game. Oh, guys, let me say who's going to win. Personally, guys, I believe in the regular season. I don't believe in the Ravens in the postseason because I think the Ravens in the postseason just fuck it up every time. But I do believe in the regular season Ravens. I'm going to give it to the Ravens. I'm going to say the Ravens are going to win by a close game. It's going to squeak out by 30. Then this game right here is going to be on Monday, guys. This is the last football game for Week 1, which is going to be the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Key matchups here, J.J. McCarthy versus the Bears secondary. We're about to see how J.J. McCarthy actually plays against some real NFL defense. I'm really glad to see it. I hope J.J. McCarthy plays good, guys. As y'all know, I loved when J.J. McCarthy played on Michigan. I loved him as a quarterback. I hope he continues his success in the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see. And then we got Justin Jefferson versus the Bears. Hopefully the Minnesota Vikings can win this match. But I think, with Ben Johnson and I think with, Caleb Williams, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to struggle. So I'm going to go with a win that, maybe I shouldn't pick this, but I'm going to go with the Bears. I think the Bears are going to win this game. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think there's going to be any blowout from both sides. I'll be real. But I think the Bears are going to squeak out by 20. Guys, are you excited for the NFL Week 1? Are you excited? Because I'm fucking excited. We just previewed all the games, guys. And I can't wait to start talking about some football. Football starts on Thursday night. I'll be recapping the end of the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles game. Right after the game's over, guys, I'll have a really long episode about it. We'll be talking about it. I'm going to love to see the Cowboys. I'm going to love to see the Eagles. But I'm also going to love to see the Friday game, the Sunday games. There's so much good content coming, so much good football to watch. it's just great, guys, to see football being actually back. The preseason was one thing. It's time for the real thing now. So, guys, make sure you follow my Pandora people. We are covering the NFL for the rest of 2025 till 2026. And also, we might be talking about basketball, too. So, my Pandora people, make sure you follow for all your NFL coverage. We'll be covering everything from the NFL. And I will see y'all later, guys. If you're on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. I'll see y'all on Thursday night. Have a good one, guys. Bye.